Hello, my dear students. Have you ever touched something hot and pulled your hand back instantly, or felt nervous before a test? That is your nervous system at work. Your body's speedy message system is the nervous system. Today, we will explore how the nervous system helps us feel, think, move, and react. With the help of the nerve cell, the brain, and the spinal cord, our body knows what is happening and what to do next, all in a split second. Let's start. Introduction. The nervous system is described as a well coordinated system led by the brain, ensuring each body part works together for survival and well being. A key example of the nervous system is when we touch a hot object, the immediate withdrawal of the hand shows how the nervous system protects our body. Example, the fire acts as a stimulus. In the diagram we can show the body responds by contracting the muscles of the hand to pull it back. The message travels from the skin, the receptor, to the nervous system, and then from the nervous system to the hand muscle. This involves two types of nerves: sensory nerves, which carry messages to the nervous system, and motor nerves, which carry messages from the nervous system to the muscles. This is the image of the spinal cord. We know that is the parts of the nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. This is the component of the central nervous system, and nerves and the glands, peripheral glands, are the component of the peripheral nervous system, and sense organs are there, which are eyes, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. Remarkable feature: the nervous system can handle multiple stimuli simultaneously, like eat and read, knit and watch TV, sing and play piano, etc. This shows the integration of voluntary and involuntary action. What are the functions of the nervous system? It regulates involuntary actions, it controls and coordinates voluntary muscle activities, it enables us to think, reason, and remember. It keeps us informed about the outside world via sense organs. Structure of a neuron. Basically, a neuron is a specialized cell responsible for receiving, interpreting, and transmitting signals in the nervous system. A stimulus or any change in the environment triggers a physical or behavioral response via these neurons. Several neurons are bundled together in a sheath to form a nerve. Structure of a neuron: cell body or cytosol, which contains the nucleus. It controls the metabolism of the neuron. The critical part, if damaged, it cannot regenerate. Dendrites. Dendrites are the highly branched projections from the cell body or cytosol of the neuron. It receives impulses from other neurons or sense organs and carry them to the cell body. Action. A long slender projection from the cell body. It conducts nerve impulses away from the cell body to other neurons, muscles, or glands, and they ends in terminal branches or with sympathetic synaptic bulbs. Nerve cross section. The image shows how many axons are bundled together to form a nerve. These nerve bundles are surrounded by protective sheaths and contain blood vessels. Actions can be microscopic or as long as several foot, bundled into a nerve trunk as thick as a human thumb. Synapse. The synapse is a junction or gap between two neurons. A direct contact. Impulses jump the gap using neurotransmitter. It ensures one-way communication of impulses from one neuron to another neuron. The image showing the unmyelinated nerve fiber and the myelinated nerve fiber. The covering of nerve fiber is the endoneurium, and when many when many nerves are covered by the perineurium, which is the covering of the nerve fasciae, and many nerve fasciae composite the nerve, and the covering of the nerve is the epineurium. So nerve trunk or peripheral nerve or nerve bundle, nerve fascicle, it's the nerve branch, and nerve fiber is the action, neuronal projection, nerve twig, nerve ending, etc. What is the summary of the nerve functions? It receives stimuli through dendrites or processes the signal in the cell body. It transmits the impulse through the action. It communicates with other neurons or effectors at synapse. Overview of the central nervous system. Nervous system basically of two types: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. And central nervous system is made up of brain and spinal cord. What is the structure and function of the brain? We first study. Cerebrum, it is the largest part of the brain. It has two hemispheres, which is highly convoluted. Outer part is called grey matter and the inner part is called white matter. Its function: it controls emotion, reasoning, memory, intelligence, and voluntary activities. Cerebellum, it is located under the cerebrum at the back. Its function is to maintain body balance and coordinates muscle movement. Medulla oblongata, it is a part of the brainstem. It continues as the spinal cord. Its function is to control involuntary actions like heartbeat, breathing and peristalsis. Brain composition, adult brain contains 100 billion neurons and its average weight is approximately 1300 grams. Spinal cord, it is lies in the neural canal below the sacral region and its function is to transmit impulse to and from the brain. It also plays a role in reflex action. Protection of the brain. Cranial bones or skull, it forms a hard protective covering. Meninges, three protective layers surround the brain like dura mater, it is the toughest and outermost layer. Arachnoid layer, it is the middle layer containing blood vessel and CSF. Pia mater is the innermost layer that nourishes the brain. Cerebrospinal fluid or CSF, it is a key function, it acts as a shock absorber. It maintains constant pressure around the brain. It helps in nutrient waste exchange between blood and brain tissue. Main parts of the brain. The human brain is divided into three major parts. The forebrain develops into the cerebrum and related structure. Midbrain, it becomes part of the brainstem and gives rise to the cerebrum and parts of the brainstem. Hemisphere of the brain. The cerebrum is split into the left and right hemisphere by a deep longitudinal fissure. The image showing the hemispheres are connected by a white matter bridge which is called the corpus callosum. This is the corpus callosum in between two hemispheres. Each hemisphere is further divided into different lobes such as frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe and temporal lobe. Left hemisphere, it is dominant in right-handed control, deals with spoken and written language, logic, math, reasoning and science. Right hemisphere, it is dominant in left-handed control associated with musical and artistic skill, imagination, creativity, sensory and mental imaginary, sound, taste, touch, smell, etc. Important, each side of the brain controls the opposite side of the body, that is left brain controls the right side and right brain controls the left side. Lobes of the cerebrum, each hemisphere can be divided into four lobes like frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe and occipital lobe. Here is the function of different lobes, like frontal lobe is responsible for reasoning, planning, speech, movement, emotions and problem solving. Parietal lobe is responsible for movement, orientation, stimuli recognition, taste and perception. Occipital lobe is useful for visual processing and interpretation. Temporal lobe is responsible for auditory processing, memory, speech perception and recognition of stimuli. Now we will study cerebrum, the largest part of the brain. The cerebrum handles voluntary actions, sensory interpretation and intellectual functions. It consists of specialized regions called lobes, each with distinct responsibilities. Functions of the cerebrum: sensory areas, it interprets stimuli like light, sound, touch, chemicals, etc. Motor areas, it controls muscular movements. Association areas, it handles memory, reasoning, will and judgment. Different regions are involved in speech, vision, hearing, touch and other senses. It controls all voluntary activity. Now let's study cerebellum. It is the balance and coordinated center within our brain. It is located under the cerebrum, the cerebellum. It coordinates muscular activity, example clapping. It maintains posture and body balance. Medulla oblongata, it controls involuntary activities. That is a part of the brainstem. The medulla oblongata, it regulates heartbeat, breathing and blood vessel diameter. It controls reflexes like swallowing, vomiting, coughing, sneezing and hiccuping. Overview of the spinal cord. The spinal cord is a cylindrical structure that housed inside the spinal canal of the vertebral column. It starts at the medulla oblongata and ends near the second lumbar vertebra. The spinal cord is protected by vertebral bones, meninges, that is the protective membrane, and the cerebrospinal fluid or CSF. Spinal cord and segmentation and spinal nerves. We know that the spinal cord is divided into 31 segments, each giving rise to a pair of spinal nerves, making 31 pair of spinal nerves, such as cervical 8 pairs, thoracic nerves are the 12 pairs, lumbar nerves are the 5 pairs, sacral is the 5 pairs and coccygeal is 1 pair. So each spinal nerve is attached to the spinal cord by two roots, a dorsal or posterior root and ventral and anterior root. Dorsal root, it carries sensory impulses into the spinal cord and it has a dorsal root ganglion which contains cell bodies of sensory neurons. Ventral anterior root, it carries motor impulses from the spinal cord out to the body. It contains actions of motor neurons. Internal structure of the spinal cord. The lower diagram showing a cross-sectional view of the spinal cord, that is a gray matter or inner or H-shaped structure. It contains interneurons and cell bodies. It is the central region of processing. White matter is the outer layer. It contains myelinated action. It is responsible for transmitting signals up and down the spinal cord. Central canal, it is located at the center of the gray matter's crossbar, and it is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Flow of nerve impulses like sensory neuron, motor neuron. Sensory neuron enters through the dorsal root and motor neuron enters through the ventral root. Both merge to form a mixed peripheral nerve. Key functions of the spinal cord: it acts like a communication link between the brain and the body. It conducts reflex action independently, which is called as spinal reflexes. It transmits sensory information to the brain and motor commands to the body. Reflex arc, a pathway for reflex actions. It's a reflex is a quick involuntary response to a stimuli, often protecting the body from harm, that is pulling your hand away from a hot object. This is the image showing the pathway of reflex action or reflex arc. Components of the reflex arc: there is a receptors which detects the stimuli, whether it is internal or external. It initiates an impulse in the sensory neuron. Sensory neuron carries actually the impulse towards the spinal cord, and center is the spinal cord which processes the impulse in the association neuron. They may reroute, transmit or inhibit the impulse. Motor neuron, they carries response signal from the spinal cord to the effector. Effector is a muscle or gland that acts in response, that is contract. A reflex arc is the shortest pathway taken by an impulse from a receptor to an effector. Types of nerves. Nerves basically of three types: sensory nerves, which carry impulses to the brain or spinal cord from sense organs. Motor nerves carry impulses from the central CNS to the muscles and glands. Mixed nerve, it contains both sensory and motor neurons. That is the image showing. So my dear students, today we explored how the nervous system helps us respond to our environment through stimuli, neurons and nerves, while the brain and spinal cord protect and coordinate both voluntary and involuntary actions. We also understood how different brain lobes handle memory, speech and sensory functions, and how reflex arcs enable quick automatic responses. Stay connected for more such simplified biology lessons, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and supporting biology at the Priyojit.